Once upon a time, Krumplyk and Biribombyk were having lunch at a cosmic cafe and accidentally overheard an interesting story. There were some dirty, tattered people sitting at the next table. They told that they had found a planet where there was nothing but dust. One of them, a strange-looking bald man with a sad face, even showed a holographic image where there were really drifts, hills, dunes and mountains of the grey dust. When some of the vagrants mentioned the name of the planet, Krumplyk and Biribombyk got very surprised. They knew these planets very well and were friends with the little animals living there. And the planet was the most ordinary one. Green forests, blue rivers and colorful towns. So the friends got worried. What if something had really happened to the planet got covered in dust? What had happened to the animals then? They finished their lunch quickly, put on their cosmic traveler's belts, and hurried to their spaceship. Shortly, they were landing on the planet's cosmodrome. Having turned off the engine, Krumplyk and Biribombyk rushed outside. But the planet turned out to be just fine. Everything was in its place. Trees, rivers, houses, roads, and the little animals were welcoming them. Nevertheless, Krumplyk and Biribombyk ran around and checked everything they could, but found neither dust nor anything unusual at all. But they had heard the conversation and even saw the image. That's somewhat suspicious, thought the friends, and decided to stay on the planet a little longer and discover what was going on there. They said nothing to the little animals. Why scare them when nothing was still clear? Meanwhile, an old rusty spaceship was sneaking up to the planet. It did not come close, but stopped at far distance and froze in the air. Those weird people from the cosmic cafe, from whom Krumplyk and Biribombyk had heard about the dust on this planet, crowded around a telescope in the spaceship saloon. The weirdos took turns looking into the eye-hole of the telescope, pushing each other and clamoring with surprise. And there was a reason. The planet that was supposed to be covered in grey dust turned out to be a flowering garden. They have descended here themselves before and seen the great dust desert with their own eyes. And now this. The bald man was right. The bald man, the same strange, sad guy who had showed the holographic image of the planet at the cafe, was silently happy. You bet. If the planet had turned out different than he had told his companions, they would just box his ears. Keep in mind that these companions were not just cosmonauts. They were real cosmic pirates. They were greedy and cruel, wandering the space like rats, looking what to feed on, where to steal, and what to rob. So well, a scientist, as the sad bald man was a scientist, though he got fired from the university for a theft, once found a story in a cosmic tramp's old diary, which he stumbled across at the library. I mean the diary, not the tramp, of course. The story was about a strange planet whose inhabitants could turn whatever they wanted into dust, even themselves, and then appear back from that dust and create anything out of it. But things were not that simple. When visited by somebody with bad intentions, or if their little animals were in danger, each was a planet of the grey dust. And when the guests were welcomed on the planet, it was a wonderful world of gardens and kind little animals. Yet that was not what interested the scientist, but the dust itself. He got a plan. Take the dust, make it combine into different things and sell them. The meanest part of the plan was that the sold items would then fall apart into the dust and return to the scientist. And here we go, you can sell them again. Easy money! A plan like that required some assistance with a spaceship, same wretches as himself. And that was how he got along with the pirates. The pirates did not trust the scientist straight away. They'd been to the planet before and seen only dust, so had no desire to burn fuel to see the dust drifts again. The captain wouldn't even hear about that first. The scientist showed him a pile of books, cosmic maps and images, but for nothing. The captain did not understand anything from those books and maps. But while the scientist, out of despair, explained his plan how to make money on the dust transformation, that was when the captain and even his crew immediately revived. And agreed, but warned. They would check the planet through a telescope first, and if it turned out a lie and the planet was a dust desert, let the scientist watch out. The scientists worried a lot while they were flying. What if the planet really turns out covered in dust? But it appeared right as he thought. The pirates were decisive people and did not reflect much. After making sure they had not been tricked, they rushed in there, washed up to the planet. Meanwhile, on the planet, nobody could suspect anything. Krumplyk and Biribombyk learned nothing about that grey dust. They had not found the dust itself, and the little animals would just shrug their shoulders to all the questions and smiled like they'd never heard about it. "What dust here? Look, only beauty around." As the friends had stayed plenty, they decided to fly back home. But before the takeoff, they went to a cafe near Cosmodrome to drink some hot chocolate. They sat down in a little table and were drinking from a pretty porcelain cup. When suddenly, hey-o! Everything around Krumplyk and Biribombyk began scattering into that very grey dust. Walls, windows, plates, tables, chairs. Even a raccoon waiter was bringing them a new portion of hot chocolate, turned into a whirl like a small tornado, and settled down as a great cloud. Finally, the friends appeared on the piles of grey dust, with the grey desert stretch around them. Only their rocket was sticking at the Cosmodrome, and next to it, some huge rusty ship was landing from the sky. Krumplyk and Biribombyk could not recover as the other spaceship dropped heavily into the dust, raising a real dust storm. And by the time the friends finally wiped their eyes, they saw strangely dressed people running towards them. Unnecessary to say that both Krumplyk and Biribombyk immediately recognized those guys who had been speaking about the grey dust planet at the Cosmic Cafe. By the way, it turned out they had told the truth. Around them, till the very horizon, was the grey dust. The friends were so stunned that they did not even oppose the attackers, who captured them and dragged to their ship. They just noticed the other bandits pulling out a thick hose from the spaceship and sticking it into the nearest pile of dust. Having locked Krumplyk and Biribombyk in a separate cabin, the pirates began to suck the dust through that hose into special reservoirs. And not simply reservoirs. The scientists ordered to install the generators and electromagnetic fields around those reservoirs, just in case. According to what he had read, such fields would shade the dust together and prevent it from moving freely. And he was right again. The house was thick, the reservoirs were not too big, so the pirates filled them up with dust pretty fast and started into the space. The moment they flew off the planet, they began celebrating the successful deal by the old pirate tradition. Organized a real feast at the saloon. Meanwhile, Krumplyk and Biribombyk stayed locked in the empty cabin. The situation was quite complex, but the friends were experienced travelers and did not worry. They were thinking what to do and how to get out. Suddenly, Krumplyk heard a thin voice. "Shake off the dust! Shake off the dust!" and looked at Biribombyk with surprise. "What dust?" he asked. Biribombyk was hanging upside down, holding on the ceiling lamp with his tail. "Dust?" asked Biribombyk. "What dust?" "You just asked me to shake off the dust." "Me?" Biribombyk was surprised too. "I said nothing. I'm just hanging out and wondering where to get a cake." Krumplyk heard the thin voice again. "Shake off the dust! Shake off the dust!" And now? Do you hear it now? The shake of the dust thing? Krumplyk looked around. No, I don't. Maybe you really just shake off the dust? Biribombyk was still a monkey and preferred acting over thinking. Krumplyk shrugged his shoulders. Why not? They were locked anyway, and began shaking the dust to the floor from everywhere. His hair, his overalls, his shoes. Biribombyk shook himself completely too, as he was furry like all monkeys. They got so occupied they did not see the dust begin gathering into streams, then into a pile, and when the friends glanced at the pile at last, their eyes became like those of an owl, round with surprise. A totally unprecedented creature slowly sculpted from the pile of dust. A head of a raccoon, a body like an upside-down cup, and arms and legs like wooden sticks. This miracle coughed and said, "Hello." "Hello," said Krumplyk. Biribombyk said nothing as his mouth was wide open. "Who are you?" Little alien rubbed its thick arm over his neck. Hard to say now. Generally, I'm a waiter from a cafe near Cosmodrome, but, well, now a bit of a cup." He looked at his arms. "And also a little bit of a table. No, that's still a chair. Or table? I don't know. Generally, it's not that important." The little one frowned, pressed its arm toward the cup, and looked at Krumplyk sullenly. "Important is how we'll get out of here, and more to that, how we'll rescue our friends." Krumplyk and Biribombyk looked at each other and began asking their new friend. First he resisted, snorted, and all that, but little by little began talking, and the mystery of the grey dust planet clarified. It turned out there were amazing creatures called Nans living on that planet. They were smaller than a speck of dust by their size, but could combine into the whole creatures, little animals that are welcoming the planet's guests. "What about everything else?" asked Biribombyk and suddenly grabbed his face. "Have I been drinking a live chocolate?" "Well, no," laughed the little waiter Nan. "The chocolate is not alive. Everything on the planet is like little bricks, and we can rule them. For example, we did not boil chocolate for you, but just combined the bricks into the chocolate-flavored liquid, and that's all." "How about the cups and everything else in general?" asked Krumplyk. "Same for all the rest. There are different bricks, hard, liquid, and they all can form different things, and we Nans rule them. And we build what we want from them. Namely what we can. Someone makes cups, someone furniture. For instance, I know how to make chocolate. Well, and everything else." He looked at his body cup. "A little bit. So build us a laser and we will cut through the door and save everyone," cheered Krumplyk. "I can't," frowned the little one. "I've never seen that laser in my life, and it does not sell in the cafes, right? And there are not enough pots here. Good it was enough for the monster meat like this." Well, Krumplyk was thinking. He was an experienced cosmic traveler, so when something was going wrong, he never worried but thought what could be done. In this case, and he explained his plan to his friends. Shortly, the little Nan fell apart into the dust again, and Krumplyk collected that dust in his palm and carefully blew inside the door keyhole. The dust moved in there for a while, and suddenly the lock opened with a click. Krumplyk pressed his lips to the lock and phew, blew the dust out. The friends waited till the Nan formed together again and rushed running through the corridor. Nan ran first, Krumplyk and Biribombyk followed him. The corridor made a turn, so the boy and the monkey hid around the corner while Nan ran to check what was up in front. The little one was surprisingly fast on his match's legs. Upon return, he told that he had found a hold with huge reservoirs inside, and inside those reservoirs were Nans. There was also an electromagnetic field around the reservoirs which had to be turned off, but he was just a waiter and did not know how to do that. Plus, reservoirs were watched by an armed sturdy. "Have you seen there any gadgets next to the reservoirs?" asked Krumplyk. "Yes, there are, at the ceiling. The buzz and thick wires are coming out of them," whispered the Nan. "You've got some work." Krumplyk looked at Biribombyk. That one showed strong white teeth. "Sure, no problem." He was not an average monkey, but a cosmic one, and his teeth were super strong. He could bite through anything. "So, let's go. Guide us, the little one," told Krumplyk, and they ran by the corridor towards the hold. Luckily, all pirates were junketing at the saloon, and the friends arrived to the hold with no troubles. Krumplyk looked carefully through the slot inside the hold. There really was a pirate sitting on a metal bench. Following the pirate tradition, he was drinking rum and murmuring some pirate song. Krumplyk thought for a moment, looked around and picked the little one in his hands, broke open the door, and the friends jumped into the hold. Caught by surprise, the pirate even choked with his rum. He could only stare at them and groan. Biribombyk immediately rushed up to the ceiling where the wires were hanging and grabbed them with his teeth. Meanwhile, the pirate recovered, reddened with anger and tried to get his radio set, but Krumplyk hauled the Nan right into the pirate's face. The little one grabbed on this rogue's cheeks and squeezed his jaws so hard. He was small but strong. The pirate could not let a squeak out, only waved his arms like a windmill. Suddenly he froze. It got unusually quiet in the hold. The generators of electromagnetic field stopped working. The pirate stared at them, and then at the ceiling, there was Biribombyk smiling and waving a piece of wire at him. And then, something happened. Boom, boom sounded from one and then the other reservoir. Boom, boom, the covers began to bend, stretch until, whoom, ripped apart like a paper and incredible creatures climbed out. The pirate forgot about the gnat sitting on his mug and sat straight on the floor, staring with his square eyes at amazing mechanisms lining up in front of him. They were squawking, squealing with their engines and steaming with their radiators, waving the electric plugs, hoses, and various kitchen utensils, which they mostly consisted of. The little Nan let the pirate go and rushed straight ahead into the nearest reservoir. The pirate tried to crawl backwards to the door as he was sitting, but the near-standing robber stretched his arm, a vacuum cleaner hose, towards him and shot a web that wrapped the pirate strongly. Krumplyk and Biribombyk got also a bit scared of such strange robots' unexpected invasion and hid in the corner, just in case. You never know what can happen next. And they were right. Not all the Nans knew them, and seeing the friends, robots began approaching, probably considered them as pirates. Krumplyk and Biribombyk got ready too, as they were not used to just give up. And no one knows how far would that go, but then someone yelled from behind the robots. "Wait! They're not pirates! These are Krumplyk and Biribombyk who saved us!" The robot stopped, parted, and the friends saw another mechanism, and on its shoulders, under a cap, was a head of their little friend. "You see, there were some bricks in the reservoirs for me too," he screamed and turned severe. "No time to waste, friends. Let's deal with the pirates unless they recover. Let's go to the saloon where all they gathered. Follow me." The robots moved along the spaceship corridors, banging their feet heavily and knocking off the doors. Meeting pirates, the robots shot some liquid into them, which turned into a web and wrapped the rogues in real cocoons, so they could not move. Fair to say, the pirates, though being quite of the riches, were still very brave and resolute, so they tried to fight the robots worthily. But who? You're kidding. The robots were rolling over the ship like a metal wave, leaving the cocoons of wrapped pirates here and there behind them. And when they broke into the saloon, the battle was short. Soon all the pirates were lying around in webs. Having defeated the enemies, Nans brought those wallowing in the corridors into the saloon, while Krumplyk and Biribombyk turned the ship back to the Nans' home. When the planet was already seen on the screens, the little Nan came to the friends, and now he not only had his head, but was a completely normal raccoon. "Where are the robots?" asked Krumplyk. "Robots? Oh, robots!" Little Animal laughed. "We already disbanded them. What do we need them for now?" "And the pirates?" "They will catch you little animals again. Or maybe you threw them out into the space?" Biribombyk was frightened. "Oh no, what are you saying? Are we some savages?" Nan was getting angry. "Of course not. We negotiated and the pirates decided to stay with us. Why not? Of course, they cannot rob or steal, but they don't have to run from the cosmic police. They can live normally, and the weather is better than in space. We're not against. As far as they don't harm us, we'll let them live. They may even become decent people." So the stolen Nans and their built-in bricks returned to the Nans planet together with the pirates' gang. After a while, the pirates rebuilt their rusty ship into a cafe and now serve different pirate dishes and drinks, both with joyful little animals and work for pirates. Although they stopped being true pirates and lost their desire to roister, now they just played for the cafe visitors, for fun. Krumplyk and Biribombyk became planet's true heroes. Nans presented them a bubble of built-in bricks and told them how to rule those bricks. So now, Krumplyk and Biribombyk could form something small from the great dust themselves. Each was a precious gift and helped the friends in their cosmic adventures more than once. Though sometimes the friends made mistakes and created totally unexpected and funny things. Only one thing, neither Nans nor Krumplyk or Biribombyk knew. When the ship was just arriving at the planet and the Nans had already made a deal with the pirates and let them out of the webs, a little cosmic boat separated from the ship unnoticed. There were captain and scientists running away. Thus they escaped unseen and then... But that's quite a different story.